And yeah, the floor is yours, man. So let's do this.
All right. A very good afternoon, good evening, depending on which part of the country you are. Welcome to our latest episode of UiPath Discover platform, where we are going to talk about, as part of Southern California chapter, myself, Pradeep Shukla, welcoming everyone here. I have my co-host with me, and we will get started with a very exciting topic for today's discussion. Um, we'll go over briefly on RPA, and we'll talk about the Discover pillar. In terms of pillar, we want to highlight that UiPath platform, the overall enterprise platform, is broken down into multiple pillars. It actually provides you a very good stage or segmentation of the application where you can work on it. Okay, and and after that we will do a live demo or walkthrough, followed by an open Q&A session where we can ask questions, and we can advise and help you out if any questions are out there, or if not, if we cannot answer right now, we can definitely respond back later on when we have more information available. So that being said, let me give you a very brief introduction for Southern California chapter. We are an online offline community. For the time being, we are still doing all these events in an online mode. In future, for sure, we do anticipate to plan some in-person meetups where we can get to meet each other and face to face and learn from each other's experiences. Um, so the primary goal of this chapter would be share our experiences, share products, UiPath products, services, how to sessions, more deep dive brown bag sessions. We had one month. We talked about Studio Web. Similarly, we are planning for multiple sessions, not just about the UiPath products, but also how to build a certain set of solutions, right? And we would definitely like to get more feedback from our attendees in terms of what kind of information they would be more interested in. Sean and Russell are here, who are my co-hosts, and they will present that information along with me. So let me. This is the whole group, right? The overall Southern California chapter. Myself, Pradeep Shukla. I have Russell with me and Sean. They are esteemed technologists from their own way, from their own companies or organizations representing automation solutions and automation designs, if you will. And we all come from different backgrounds, and that makes it very interesting because we have varied experience, and we expect to share our experience with the whole community, and also learn from the community itself to expand to our knowledge base. Russell, you would like to introduce yourself?
Sure, absolutely. And yes, Pradeep mentioned I am part of a professional services organization catering different customers, specifically their UiPath practice. So for the company that I'm currently in, I'm leading their UiPath capability. So and interestingly, I'm part of UiPath in APAC in my previous work experience. So yeah, I'm here to share my knowledge and experience in this event and our future events as well.
All right, thanks, Russell. That's great. Sean?
Yes, hello. I'm Sean Randall, another member of this excellent group. I come out of the entertainment and business as the Southern California chapter, exploring different case studies for that industry, whether it be film or radio or recording. and we should have a few meetups coming up specifically for that in the future, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, that's great. That's a very unique set of business segment, right? That no one talks about it, and primarily I would say no one, not many people know about it, right? What exactly goes behind the scenes. So we will be definitely bringing a lot more content around that area. All right, let's move on. So let's do a quick refresher in terms of if someone is joining who is very new to robotic process automation. I don't plan to get into really too much, go through a deep dive and go through nitty-gritties of it, but just to level set, robotic process automation is uh, primarily, as the name suggests, right? The Even though the term robots is not a hardware robot, these are software programs. What RPA provides, it provides an ecosystem, an environment where you can build these software processes, and then you can hook them up with an agent, right? And that agent can run those processes in an automated way with or without any guidance, right? Any supervision. So that's where you have different kind of bots that can run with human supervision, and there are other automations that do not need any kind of supervision as such in terms of execution. So these are software programs running through an agent on a target machine in a simple way, right? That's how we can frame it. One of the key features, or one of the simplicity of RPA, is that it can mimic human interaction, and that's very key for the utility itself for RPA is that it can, if a human can do a certain set of steps, a certain set of actions on through various applications or their day-to-day IT job that they may have, RPA can learn that process and it can act on it. There are different ways to build a solution. We'll definitely have those sessions where we'll talk about how you design a solution and how do you decide the level of automation that you want to bring in, because every organization and every product is different. So that's where a lot of time goes in terms of identifying a process. So we will talk about those in today's session, because that's what we want to focus on. That's what our topic is. So in terms of RPA, where it can be used, in my experience, working with different agencies, different state and local governments, and even for commercial customers, I have seen that with RPA, I haven't seen any business area that we haven't been able to touch. Whereas RPA has its applicability everywhere. Almost every segment or area of business you talk about, you have an RPA use case. Finance, IT services, those are that comes right away in your mind, right? Because those are the areas where automation comes first in any way, right? So even though IT services is the area where always IT automation is encouraged, all the IT administrators, they always want to have some kind of automation to make it quick or make it error free, because that's what their primary emphasis is. But you won't believe how finance teams have been the biggest proponent of RPA, because that actually helps them eradicate a lot of uh, long running processes and long running execution steps done by a manual user. So it completely provides them a shortcut, or kind of a, it just, it gives them a solution that can move these things very quickly, helping them um, cut down all the backlogs that they may have. Similarly, operations and supply chain are the other big areas where I see a lot of customers are asking for RPA solution. It not necessarily they would be an end-to-end RPA solution, but RPA still is the cornerstone of the solution. There may be multiple solutions that it has to interact, and that's another beauty of RPA, because it works as a glue and also a connector for all other different applications that the system needs to interact, whether in terms of publishing the data, or in terms of extracting information, right? So that's where RPA becomes very handy, and with a low code no code kind of a environment, the development process is easy compared to traditional application development. If we compare with that, um, learning curve is relatively easy because you don't have to really learn C sharp, .NET, and all that, all the programming languages for that matter. So it really an enabler for modernization across the verticals within an organization. So I hope you may have also seen in your organization how RPA has been adopted or even talked about. That's the interesting thing, that even if an organization is not using RPA, they still want to learn about it because they want to see where they can introduce RPA. So that's a very that's a business value in terms of organizations to adopt an RPA solution. All right, so let's talk about briefly about the enterprise platform, right? So you see the complete UiPath platform is broken down into five pillars, they call it: discover, build, manage, run, and engage. So, as the name suggests, each of these pillars, that's one of the reasons why UiPath is in a way end-to-end platform, enterprise platform, because it actually captures, it has solutions and products for each of these pillars or each of these steps in the process of automation, if you will, right? So we are going to talk about discover pillar today, where we want to focus on how we identify the best possible cases for automation. And once we have identified what are the processes that needs automation, how we can go from there, and how we engage the whole organization in terms of coming together, right, for this journey, transformation journey. And Russell today, he's going to take over and he's going to walk us through with each of these steps. And I'm very excited to learn about all these products and services that are out there. So Russell, over to you. Russell, are you there?
Sorry, man. I am on mute.
All right, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'll take it on from here. So I'll let you browse through the slides while I speak through it,
Sure.
and
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
just
Mhm.
so the most exciting part here is the demo. But before we go to the demo, let me just go through each and every component that is we can leverage within the this discovery pillar in UiPath, right? And it really is all aligned to the goal of this pillar, which is really to be able to generate this robust pipeline of automation from ideation or gathering all these automation ideas from the grassroots or employees up to assessing or selecting the right process and being able to prioritize this and eventually being able to monitor the end-to-end life cycle in the pipeline. So in the intelligent process discovery pillar or platform, so you have automation hub, which I briefly described just now, and also as part of their ingestion process, it's not just crowdsourcing or ideating from the employees, but also being able to scientifically discover ideas from the digital footprints. When I say digital footprints, these are the logs coming from the systems, from SAP, from databases, from your electronic data systems that you have, right? So those are what we call scientific discovery. Um, Again, there are two things: send up crowdsourcing from your employees, and also scientific discovery to task mining and process mining. And we'll talk more about this later. And eventually, this automation pipeline goes in automation hub, where you can end to end do a pipeline management and being able to really filter out those automation that lets you reap the most benefits out of your initiatives, right? So yeah, can you go over to the next topic?
Sure.
So yeah, first one I mentioned previously described Automation Hub. What it is basically a one-stop shop for all things related automation. So starting from the ground level where you ingest ideas either through crowdsourcing or scientific discovery, this is where the process intake comes in, and up to the assessment, up to the decision making, selecting the right process, and up to implementing and go live. So you will be able to monitor all of the initiatives that you have ongoing for your automation pipeline, right? So the next piece after Automation Hub, which I'll demonstrate later, is if you go to the next one. So these are the testimonies that are coming from actual customers. So for each of the different components, the UiPath has this. Um, so you can relate as well if ever you already using it in your organization. The next is task capture. So one of the things that business analysts, so as part of a life cycle of automation, one of the initial phases is being able to assess the process and document the process end to end, so you would know what does the as is looks like as compared to the to be process, how you want the process to be automated, right? And most of the time, this is the part where business analysts takes the most time in gathering the data and being able to translate it into a structured manner that everyone can understand, so that it will serve as a bible of the RPA developer or the solution architect to create the other documents that's required in the life cycle. And what task capture does is it automates or at least relieves or streamlines this process for business analysts by having them just to record the step by step, and task capture is the one that builds this initial draft of the PDD, process design document,
Right.
creates a flowchart, and then you can export it directly to a PDD, which is a standard document for implement when you implement a process for automation. So
Right.
that's
So that
task capture.
that definitely would cut down the whole time spent
Uh,
on documenting and writing it down the process, right? Rather than you just record it and you're good to go. And
Absolutely, and that.
one
Mhm.
of the things I would also see that it would actually reduce a lot of rework, because sometimes when we are just watching from the business user and documenting it,
Mhm.
we there is always a possibility of missing out information. But if someone is actually doing it on the screen, right, there is a least chances that they would skip a step or miss out some information that is really important for the business itself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's the essence of why we do automation, right? So this is also part of a task or life cycle that we do before we automate, but then UiPath relieves that, I mean, streamlines this process for you as well through task capture, right? And yeah, so that's task capture. And shifting towards scientific discovery, if you can go to the next slide after this.
Okay. So these are
Yep.
just feedback from the different organizations who are using task capture.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. So now we go to this scientific or statistical tools that in fact uses more advanced type of um, automation discovery, right? Not only automation discovery, but a really comprehensive analytics of what's really going on in your organization in the process by looking at the data. The For process mining, it's looking at the back end, right? So we will be able to distinguish what process mining versus task mining differentiates by looking at what type of data they ingest. So first, for process mining, it looks at the logs, the digital footprints within your databases or back end of your systems, right? So it ingests all this data, it crunches this data, and you have this connectors that you can connect to your databases, whether it's through Oracle, SQL, or to SAP databases, and it will be able to transform and load into this visualization that's pre-templated as well. And this provides a very holistic view of what really is happening, right, as compared to what you have documented. So usually what you have documented is just around 30% of what's really happening in the process,
Right, right,
in your systems, right? So from here you would be able to see what's the real bottleneck. Let's say you have an invoice processing use case, what's the bottleneck for that particular process, so that you can zero in on that process, or on that particular step, and be able to identify what's causing the bottleneck, and if it's something that you can automate, because not all um, uh, process bottlenecks, or process that you want to improve should be automated, right? It will also tell you that if you need to optimize, whether it needs to be
right.
through Lean Six Sigma or other standardization, process standardization.
It will also find out, right, which processes are taking the most time for them. So that
Correct.
could be something because of um, some integration issue,
Mm-hmm.
or it might be something like the business communication issue
Yeah.
itself, right?
Yep.
Because if you're
Yep.
trying to, let's say, the end business from where you're trying to get data,
Mm-hmm.
they don't provide data within a time. They take more than what their SLA is. So I think that it really a very comprehensive system to find out areas to
Mm-hmm.
improve efficiency overall.
Yep, absolutely. And you talked about external factors, and that's really one of the things that you can unearth when you go through this process mining study, and you would be able to go through it at a detailed level. If it's just for a particular vendor, if it's for a particular type of invoice, or whatnot, right? So, and that's just a tip of the iceberg. You can also see non-conformance issues, or whatever the data that you ingest, you can surface out this detailed visualizations and really make sense of what's happening in your process. So that's process mining, looking at your back end, or digital footprints. Now, if you go to task mining,
All right.
task mining also uses machine learning to make sense out of what's happening by gathering all this data. But instead of looking at the back end, it looks at the front end. Front end meaning how the user interacts with your application. So, as compared to a process mining study where you use connectors to your databases and ingest, do ETL, task mining conducts a study with humans interacting with the applications, right? So a typical task mining study lasts for 1 to 2 weeks with maybe 5 to 7 persons, and
Okay.
the only thing they what they just need to do is go by their day to day, and you just install this task mining engine in their machines, and you can configure which app to record, depending on what goal, or what application or process you're studying. Let's say you're studying, again, an invoice processing use case. In this way, you would need to whitelist or record your SAP application, your Excel application, maybe browser for SAP Fiori, or whatnot. So you have to select which people would be involved in the study, what time frame, again 1 to 2 weeks, and what applications you need to whitelist. So from there, after that time frame finishes, so you will be able to ingest data, and the machine learning a task mining machine learning model will kick in, and the output of that will be something like this visual diagram of what is the most repetitive task that's happening, or based on the interactions that the user has with those application, it will create this visual workflow so that you will be able to determine at a task level which is really the most repetitive process. Meaning, if you go by the standard criteria of an RPA, how you select, right? You have to select the most repetitive process in terms of step,
Right. Yeah.
most volume. So this really fits what's best to automate, right? Anything that any process that is or task that is discovered here is really fits the criteria of the
The
most
criteria.
suitable
Yeah.
task to automate. Yep.
Yeah, because that's where you get the most value out of it, right? If there is a
Uh-huh.
huge volume and obviously number of hours, if your staff is spending more hours in doing those kind of things, then definitely it adds. It's not going to just cut down the time to process it, but also it will cut down the time that your team members are spending on something that's completely automatable, right? So yeah, it's
Absolutely.
it's it's a win-win for everyone that way.
Yep. And the good part here is for both task mining and process mining, you can route this discovered task or automation back into automation hub where you can manage the end-to-end pipeline from an idea to prioritization of what to automate, eventually to materializing that process for automation. Right? There's an ability for you to export it automatically, let's say as a PDD or as automatically as a base workflow for so that this is essentially a recording of what the users are doing click by
Right.
click or step by step, right? So it makes sense to have a facility where you can automatically download it as a workflow, but it's not meant for a production run. So eventually you would have still developers who will be need to tweak and optimize this workflow, but at least you have a baseline or a base workflow that your developers can work in and add exception handling, etc. So great. That's a quick overview of this of the different components discovery pillar. Now, what I want to show you is the actual demo of this um, different components. And what I'm going to do is, can I share my screen quickly?
Yes, I think let me stop sharing. Let's see if this is again some the industry
Mm-hmm.
savings in terms of what the real results from industry that UiPath has captured. We were sharing some information on that. Okay, yeah. So let's go back and let me stop sharing. Yeah. So why don't you start sharing now?
Yeah. Let me. Oh yeah, you have to stop sharing first. Yep.
There you go. Okay.
Let me start sharing my screen. And yeah, what I want to do here is I want to walk you through a day in the life of these different roles or typical roles in an organization. Um, and let's focus on one of the most active area when it comes to automation, which is finance, right? And in finance, you would have AP analysts with their day-to-day processing financial stuff, processing payment invoices, being able to route it for approval, AP manager or process owner, business stakeholder, CO lead. Let's walk through a day in the life of these different personas. And these are what will serve as a baseline on the demo, right? That when interacting with each of these components in the pillar. Then AP analyst, which we will regard as the idea submitter, right? Where the idea comes
Okay.
from of what to automate. AP manager, mainly the ones directly managing AP analysts and curates the idea submitted by the AP analyst, and also someone who can assess in detail what the process volumetry or benefits would look like so that it will be entered into automation hub and eventually will serve as the input for the metrics that will be automatically calculated within the tool as well. And business stakeholder will act as the decision maker. So once the pipeline is pushed in the automation hub, either through crowdsourcing, process mining, task mining, business stakeholder is the one who will act as a gatekeeper of which you will move from assessment into implementation.
And also
Um,
for prioritization also, right?
right, correct, prioritization. So that's the business stakeholder. And of course, COE lead is the one who operationalizes this tool and be able to manage the reusable components. So once a project is deployed, it's not just deployed catering a specific function or use case, right? Sometimes the developers or would build a component that can also apply to other new projects, right? Let's say in finance, it's just not you don't just process invoices, but you also process other types of things like in HR, like in AP, AR. So you will show you how what different components that COA lead can use to really manage this end-to-end life cycle of an automation within Automation Hub. So with that said, so let me go to Automation Hub and let's start with AP Analyst, right? So this is Automation Hub where every employee that has access to Automation Hub and COA members, especially with the super user access, can see what automations are in here, whether it's an idea or is if it's already an implemented automation. So you can see and explore automation program here. And as an AP analyst, I can explore by automation program, which has been submitted already as an idea or which should have been already um, um, automated. I can see the people that are here. So think of it as a social media as well of all things related to automation. So within, of course, internally within our organization, right? So you can see here your colleagues that has access, and also as I mentioned, reusable components that me as an AP analyst may be able to leverage as well if I am a citizen developer, right? I can use this as a base if I want to build something similar to this, so I don't have to build this from scratch. And of course, the leaderboard. So um, what's more engaging for me or as a user in a certain platform is uh, rewards that I can get, let's say, for participating or even just for submitting an idea. So from here, you can also monitor who's had the most submission in terms of idea. So you can earn badges and achievements, and there are tons of different categories which can earn you badge and achievements as well, and you can earn points and which you can align to your internal organization's rewards and recognition platform. So you would be able to reward those that is really engaging as part of your automation initiatives. So yeah, as an AP analyst, the COE lead would have the ability of crowdsourcing idea from me and similar peers that I have, and how that intake process would look like is by me starting to submit an idea. So if I'm just a standard user in this platform, I can only see submit an idea. Otherwise, if I'm a COE lead or COE member, I can submit a COE driven idea. The only difference between these two is as standard idea would uh, be uh, enforced with more quality gates in terms of assessment, while a COA driven idea will go directly to the detailed assessment. So it will bypass the high level assessment or intake process. You can also submit an automation if a process is already automated and you want it to be tracked in here as well, and you want to submit reusable component. Or one of the latest features that's added just recently is you can submit a change request for a specific automation that's already live. But for me, I just want to submit an idea. So I have been, as an AP analyst, I've been doing this process day to day, which is very tedious for me. I can focus on other tasks because this is a revenue generation type of task where I need to have this invoices coming in as checks need to be approved by a certain approver depending on the amount. So this is let's say we call this process as a payment automation, process, payment processing use case. So from here, I would be able to type in or enter in what the process name is, and I can describe the process. This is a repetitive task where I need to download blah blah blah, and you provide the description and you provide the business area. So this is the high level assessment. So the main entry point for standard users on the intake process um, for Automation Hub. So invoice to payment. So you have to provide a category and subcategory. Of course, this is all of this aren't mandatory, but it's really good to have this much detail so that when it comes to the approver, or the next approver, or which in this case is your direct manager, he would easily be able to know what really is the driving, what is really is the challenges or the main pain points that is driving you to automate this particular process. So it would help for the approval as well. So the approver can clearly see that this is really something that you need to automate so that you can be more productive. And
Yeah, quick
these are
change requests are good. Man. This the template is really detailed, comprehensive, because in any organization when we have to ask for any change request, right? Usually people have they have ServiceNow or some other portal or even SharePoint. In some organizations they have those ways to capture that information. I think Automation Hub really does a good job having everything together at one place rather than skimming for this information from various
yeah.
different portals, right? So you have everything here that can help you make that decision.
Correct, correct. And this is really specific for all things related to your automation, so you would know and you would be easily be able to, especially the COE will be able to see easily do process intake. So as compared to having Excel files dropped in anywhere or SharePoint with this questionnaire, so you would have this portal as your main ingestion platform for all this. So, and these are the assessments as you see here are easily customizable as well. But this is aligned to the main criteria of how UiPath or RPA can be determined to be good potential for automation. If it's straightforward rules, if the input is highly digital, so you can enter some comments here as well. How formatted the the input is, will the process change in the next 6 months? So you can answer this to the best of your knowledge. Doesn't have to be the exactly right or wrong. This is still the high level assessment, but at least you would provide these inputs for the tool to calculate how this automation is, what percentage feasibility this automation is, and how ready this is for automation. Let's say you have the detailed work instruction, you have the SOP, you have all of this input and output files that you can provide. And from here, you can also assign automatically or directly the process owner, although this is not mandatory at this point because this is still the high level assessment, but let's do it anyways. And when I submit it for review, right? So you will see that it automatically will calculate at a high level how suitable this is for automation, um, um, and also notify your AP manager or process owner or direct manager, right? So you can see
Mhm.
here 84% idea score overall rating of how good candidate your idea of automation. So at the onset, you will really know if this is a really good idea for automation based on the things that you provided um, as an answer to the questionnaire, how suitable this is to the extent which is fitted for automation, and how ready to be automated based on the process life cycle, right? So what's next? So next is, so you already shared your idea. Next is to use task capture to document this. And in fact, even before you want to document it, so it's already submitted or routed to your direct manager. Now, in this case, the AP manager, where you're reporting directly, whoever that is assigned as your direct manager in the tool. So he or she will receive this notification that he or she needs to approve this, right? So let's say now, let's shifting gears towards this other persona, the AP manager. So now I can go in the automation pipeline or explore automation program, and I can see here um, the things that I need to approve, which should already be here. But since I'm not assigned as a direct manager, I can just go in here directly and then view this automation profile and then review what are the things that my direct report has put in here and how it really impacts his or her day to day at a high level. I can have an idea of wow, this process looks ripe for automation. Why aren't we automating this? So I can just go in here and approve this, and there's a prompt that reminds if this is a duplicate of another automation, if it's adequate to be considered, just making sure. And if you approve, now it's past the first quality gate, right?
One
um
question I have, Russell, here, one thing would be really interesting for us to understand this. The automation KPI, the assessment KPIs that we have here,
mhm.
these percentages, are these solely based on the input for this particular use case, or or is it a comparative assessment of all the use cases submitted in this organization?
So this is solely based on what you have input in the high level
Hmm.
assessment. And again, this is really, really high level. As you mentioned, it's just a range of extremely agree or don't agree, just basing on what this main standards or criteria of how a process is suitable for automation. So this is just based solely on this, and that's why this is only the first intake. There are other
Okay.
more detailed assessment KPIs and automation goal that need to be uncovered during the detailed assessment phase. So from high level assessment, once this is approved and curated by the direct manager, this will then go through the queue of who the process owner is. So the process owner can either be the same, the AP manager, or another process owner for that specific function, right?
Yeah.
So that process owner would have the best idea of the different things in order to assess this in much detail. And that's why this next questionnaire will be the detailed assessment piece that contains all things related to the volumetry, the automation goal, the environment, the employee profile. So all of these questions will serve as an input to assess eventually this potential benefits per company or per employee or FTE in terms of savings per hour or in terms of um, um, uh, uh, hours and in terms of cost or dollar savings
Yeah.
per year,
Right.
right? So yeah, let me just quickly let's say answer some of this. Let's say average working days per year, and working hours. So these are the details. So the process owner and the different process stakeholders need to sit down together and answer this. They would know best what the process looks like. And let's say we already have completed this detailed assessment. So really, this is one of the part that would really need to take some time to get all the details as to the best of your knowledge as well. And how does it looks like when you are able to complete this detailed assessment? So it would look something like this. If you go to our one of our automation pipeline here, so you would see that oh, this one is not one qualification. Let's say this one. So you would see it automatically computed what's the automation potential um, for this particular process. So much in much more detail because you've already provided the, let's say, the different applications, the number percent of digital data input, scan data input. So all of this comes together and aggregated to compute the percentage of how it will impact or how complex the automation is. Benefit per company mainly is from the process volumetry, right? Average error rate, average rework, audit time, and it will automatically compute the FTS required. So really, you don't. If this is a attended process, you really don't have to compute as well the number of robots that you need for this. If it's this same way, if it's an unattended process, it will automatically help you do that calculation as well. So by just looking at this will serve as your business case, right? I mean, before going to to your managers or to the executives, hey, I want to automate this, right? You already have this data backed KPIs that you can present um, in order for you to prove that this is something that really has high impact and if automated will really provide this much benefit, right? And that's where the decision makers come in, right? They also have this. So now shifting gears towards the decision makers or business stakeholders, right? You will see here the decision pipeline where they can go in and all together, all of the ones that have passed the detailed assessment, that completed the detailed assessment at least, they will be able to see here immediately which one they can easily see here which one has the most impact, right? Automation potential in terms of our save, ease of implementation, and also how easy that is to be automated, right? So those are the two main things for us to consider if a process is a quick win or low hanging fruit, right? Quick win if it's something that's easy to implement, low hanging fruit, the high impact, and easy to implement at the same time. So you can see the ones that are in the top right in the quadrant are the ones that you want to prioritize as a business stakeholder or decision maker, right? So this completes the uh, ideation, assessment, and decision making life cycle of the automation program. Now, once the stakeholders have selected a process they want to prioritize, so it's just a matter of tracking as well in within this tool. Again, this is a one-stop shop of all things related to automation. You'll be able to see here different dashboard, planning report, cost report, to basically see if what you have seen in the during the analysis phase or assessment phase, to see if you are faring with the actuals or baseline in terms of the project management, how this is being implemented for the analysis, solution design. So you can, as project manager, you can also keep track during the implementation of what are the delays or where are the delays happening during the part of the process. So after the decision or selecting which process to automate, So it then gets being handed over to the COE to do the implementation if it's a complex process. But if it's a simple to medium process that can be automated by citizen developers, um, the citizen developers can also take over that process so that um, the COE can focus on more simpler tasks. And that can also be surfaced to this decision pipeline based on the ease of implementation.
Yeah, no,
So, yep.
this is great actually. There's a lot of things in there. The good thing is that it's all out there. You don't have to actually go what information you would really need and that your executive management would need to make a final decision. And it's kind of doing your due diligence, right? Going through all those checks that, okay, I have checked all these criterias to make sure that my automation is most fit. My process is most fit for automation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and
And yeah.
and one more thing I want to add here, because in the platform itself, even
Mhm.
though whether you use your task mining and task capture or not, uh, Automation Hub is available for free, right? So that's a big positive, even though a small organization may not go and use task mining, task capture, or process mining, those softwares, they can still utilize Automation Hub for gathering all that information, going through the rigor of identifying the use cases that are the most fit out of all the ideas that they have captured. So it provides a great one-stop shop, just like you talked about, Russell, right? It provides a one single platform where you can capture all information and use it. And even though you don't use any other products or that can augment that decision making, um, but still, I would say it's a great solution out there that's available for free if a small organization is just starting out, identifying the use cases for themselves. I think it's still one of the best solutions out there to use it.
Yeah, yeah. And uh, this is really one of the things that are key that helps every company scale their automation from just one to hundreds of automations, right? And in fact, one of the interesting thing is even if you don't use UiPath as your automation product provider, so this tool is RPA provider agnostic, right? So so all the things that you the features that are here will help you assess an RPA process, whether you want it automated through Automation Anywhere or Blue Prism. So this is really one of the key things. That's why this is one of the things that UiPath offers that is really stands out across the competitors because
Yeah,
they're really focusing not only on the build, manage, and run core RPA, but also being able to help organizations um, generate a robust pipeline of their automation, whether it's built
exactly. Yep,
them or other. Yep.
exactly. No, that's really good. That's and thanks for showing us through all these stages. And I like the way that you presented in terms of different personas,
Mhm.
because that really hits an user, gives him the view from every aspect of this life cycle itself. So they know what they are expecting and how this is all configured. So that's really great. All right, I think we are almost
Yeah,
close to our presentation time as well. So
yeah,
I believe that that's a very good at a good stage where we can call it a day. I believe I would open it up for any questions or any feedback.
yeah, and yeah. Maybe let's uh, wrap this up, and maybe one question as well for me is maybe yeah, since we have Derek here, thanks for being with us from start till this end, Derek. I just have a quick question. Does this timing, do you think, fits for someone in the region, or do you think we could make the timing much better, so that we can cater more
Yeah, so
attendees?
we can have more engagement. Yeah.
Yep. You can answer through chat or voice if you. I'm not sure if you can answer through voice. Uh, yeah. Or do you want to send it as a survey? I don't know, survey. Yeah. I'm not sure if you can unmute, but yeah. I saw he sent.
Let's see. Yeah, I think I don't think so. We can enable his
Mm,
audio. So yeah, so we are still going through a learning phase with this uh, screen sharing platform, if you will.
mm,
So Derek, I would really appreciate if you share your feedback in the chat itself. I think that would be really great, and we'll try to experiment with different timings. And we know today's timing we started a little late,
mm.
but still, thanks for
Yeah,
joining in, and I would we'll take care of it from rest time well, from next time onwards. So we are on time and we start on time.
yeah, yep, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that. And yeah, I
All
think
right, then I
it's
think this was a great session, Russell. Let's
right.
plan for some more sessions going through the enterprise pillar itself. I think this was really, even though some of us already knew some part of it, but going through that view of personas was really great experience. I really like that. I hope we use that same model to present other pillars as well, because most of the people they focus primarily just as a developer or just as a business analyst, but having that kind of overarching view of different personas, how they deal with that particular one particular solution is really great for understanding of the system itself.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
All right. I think that's a wrap for today. And thanks for signing up, and thanks for joining in for today's session. And we hope you can sign up again next time when we come up with a new session on from our South California chapter.
great. See you again
Thank you.
soon, everyone.
Yep.
Yeah,
Bye now.
we'll watch the recording. Bye bye.